Welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting, 20 years strong. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Speaking of 20 years strong, 20th year anniversary, and in this second year in 2006, we had a very esteemed guest on this program, a guest that took us to higher heights. And we have him, and we're fortunate and blessed enough to have him for this second guest in our 20th year. It's not often that you're able to say that you've had him in your first year, 10th year, and 20th year. And I'm so glad that he's agreed to come on again in this 20th year so that we can catch up and not only find out what's going on with him now, get his opinions on different things, state of the paranormal and whatnot, and also talk a little bit about not only reminisce, but talk a little bit about where things may be going in the next 5 to 10 years. I love sitting down with them and sitting under the learning tree with them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about him first and then bring him in, but not in a bad way. John Zaffis has over 43 years of experience studying and investigating the paranormal. He's had the opportunity to work for and with his aunt and uncle, Ed and Lorraine Warren. This sent John beyond looking for ghosts and hauntings and into studying demonology under the Warrens. This led to John's involvement with cases into possession and exorcism, which gave him the opportunity to work with prominent exorcists in this field, including Roman Catholic priests, monks, Buddhists, rabbis, and ministers. John's assisted and worked with well-known exorcists, including Bishop Robert McKenna, Father Malachi Martin, and the Reverend Yoon. Also, you've seen him on television. His lists of accolades are out there. Ghost Hunters. He's had his own show as well. We could be here for days listing his resume, but I think we'll cut that off. He's also got his own books out there. In fact, his latest is in front of me right now. I don't have the physical copy, but it's Trilogy of Terror. And I'll tell you this much. He's written it with Reverend Larry and Debbie Elward, and it's a great book. So we'll have a link in the description of this program so you can go get that book. And you can sit down and read it for yourself. I'll tell you this much. It's a wonderful book. And we'll talk a little bit about that book with Reverend Larry and Debbie. So ladies and gentlemen, let's bring them in one more time. John Zaffis. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now that you're here, I'm wonderful. Well,
congratulations on 20 years, bud.
Oh, thank you so much. And again, can't do it without you. That's the thing. We can't do it without you. And I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm glad you invited me.
Again, wonderful that you're here. I got to tell you, John, not just wonderful that you're here on the program. I got to tell you, every time the few times that I'm fortunate to get out on the road during the year, you're one of the lights that I love seeing out on the road. And it seems like it's not just, I think a lot of people love to grab you and say, tell me a scary story or tell me a story about this or that. I love to just grab you and say, do something stupid with my scooter, or do something, you have such a wonderful sense of humor. And
I do get in trouble with your scooter, don't I?
Yeah. Or just, I'd rather just pull you aside and have a little bit of fun with you. I'd rather not focus on your day job or anything like that, or any of this muck and mire. I'd rather just get together with you and have a little bit of fun. To me, I think that was the level I wanted to associate with you on, and I don't know why it was that level and not necessarily the professional level, but there was just something that I connected with.
No, Tim, because anybody that, especially knowing me all these years, as any of you is within our original little group of people, we're all friends. Mm-hmm. And again, when we're at the conventions or anything, to me, it's most important to joke around, horse around. I want to know about your families. I want to know about what's going on with you. I'm not interested in talking about the paranormal. We talk to everybody else about the paranormal.
Right.
So again, when we are together, hanging out, having a few beers, or me stealing your scooter and running around the place, those are the best parts. Those are the fun parts, because we're all doing it as friends.
Right.
We're all there as friends, having a good time. And to me, that's the most important part.
I wanted to start off today reminiscing a little bit, because I over the years in different events, and I did this with Jason Hawes last week, talking about the different events over the years is kind of fun, and some of those funnier moments. I don't know if you remember this or not. There's always editing. Keep that in mind, Godfather. There's always editing. But do you remember a time with, and I know you're fond of Stacey Jones, or maybe you're not. You can say that here on air if you want.
You cannot not love Stacey.
Right.
Yeah, Stacey, anybody that is themselves, and Stacey she'll tell you off in a heartbeat. But, ever from the get-go, my very first conversation with that woman, we bonded and became we're still good friends to this day. Mm-hmm. We could go several months without talking and be on the phone just like where we left off several months earlier. So, no, I think the world of her. She's herself. She stands her ground no matter what. She'll argue, man. Oh, man, will she argue? But that's what I like about her. That's Stacey.
Stacey also has a very robust sense of humor. So the one
You're
thing...
You're being nice.
I know. I'm being really nice right now, to be honest with you. She comes up to me at Gettysburg and she said, I want to play a prank on John. And I'm like, oh, God. And I like little innocent pranks. Like, I think one year when you were signing in line, I came up and it was Easter time and I slid a chocolate crucifix that Hershey's had made, and I said, "The power of Christ compels you," and I just handed it to you while you're in line. Stuff like that. I mean, it's innocent stuff. She wanted the full enchilada. So
that stays.
yeah. So and she knows that a lot of people like to approach you with different things at these events, and it tends to be a little inappropriate, I think is the word, right? So, they'll bring things like, haunted objects, and they'll say, you got to take this off my hands. Things that probably you shouldn't bring to a convention. Right. And you probably should.
Did she bring the dildo?
This was the fist. You remember the giant black fist?
Yeah.
Yes. So she said, so she breaks out this, she goes, come up to my room real quick, which, any other day, I'd think maybe she had something other in mind. But she said, come up to my room real quick. I got to show you something. I said, okay. So I go up to her room and she pulls out this giant black trash bag and she pulls out this giant black fist, rubber fist. I go, well, what are you going to do with that? And she goes, all right, I need you to find somebody for me who can give this to Zaffis. And I go, and what are they supposed to say? And she goes, all they have to do is act panicked and shove this in his arms and just say, oh my God, I can't stand this anymore. It's been throwing things around my house. It's been tormenting me and my family. I can't take it anymore. You take it, and then have them run off. And then just watch his reaction. And the idea was we were supposed to be standing up in her hotel room and like we're going to try and corner you as you were coming back from dinner or something. So we found somebody who was more than willing to do the deed.
Yes.
And sure enough, as you at this time you were smoking at this time. You no longer smoke, and you'd like your coffee and your cigarette after you came back from dinner. It's a nice way to relax after dinner. So you get out of the van after you'd come back from dinner, and we got our target to run up on you like it was some sort of military operation. She threw this bag into your arms. I don't know what she said to you because we were up in the room, but it sounded frantic. And we just saw you with this garbage bag in your arms, looking at this garbage bag, kind of in bewilderment, and then you put it on the hood and you're slowly unraveling it like something may jump out of this thing. And as you unraveled it, you kind of looked at it, and we were laughing so hard up in the room. I think you looked up at us right away and automatically,
well,
I think
one of them yelled out the window.
Yes, I think
somebody yelled out the window.
It was,
and that's what caught me, because when they handed it to me, they started screaming, "Don't open it," and everything. And then I remember I looked at them, and I go, "How did you know how to find me?" And one of them said to me, I remember all of that, surprisingly.
Okay.
She said, "We called your house, and your wife said you were down here." And I went, my wife wouldn't ever say where I was or tell you where to find me when I was out on the road. That I do know. But anyways, I mean, then they threw it at me and they're screaming and carrying on. Then when I was holding it and everything, and I was bringing it up and down. I remember that, and I was looking at it, trying to figure out what the hell is this, right? So, anyways, then when I started opening it, they started screaming even more. And once I got it opened, and I'm holding it up, and I'm looking at it and everything, all of a sudden, I want to say, I believe it was Stacy that yelled out the window, "Gotcha, oh man, we just filmed that whole thing."
Yeah.
So then I ended up going back up into the hotel room, and we were all laughing and joking and having a good time and everything. And I picked it up and I threw it at her, and she goes, "That's a dildo." Yeah. And I go, "Well, I know that now," and everything like that. And I said, any person that uses this, I feel very sorry for them.
Right.
I said, I don't even want to go down that road with even visualizing something like that. But it was the funniest. It was when we do things like that and we joke around with each other and pull pranks like that. I think that's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, it really is. I mean, especially with Gettysburg. I don't know what it is, but every time I go to Gettysburg, there's always major pranks that I get that are pulled on me usually. So it's okay. I love it.
I think it breaks up the monotony of the road, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And it's. I think too. I mean, I don't think. This can be a very serious field. Let's face it. And there are people that are very much in pain. They're being tormented, and there's things that are serious that are going on. But I mean, I don't think people realize how much weight they put on you. So every once in a while, if we crack a little joke back and forth, I think it a little bit of levity goes a long way. Yeah, there was that. There was the time Josh Gates and they were doing this big break dance. Remember when everybody was doing that shuffle thing? Yeah. The one. Yeah. Okay. Do you see Josh Gates and I going across the halls? Him and I were on we put all the suitcases, the cart, and we were driving that all over the place. So again, I mean, then there was 2 years where several of the young ladies took the time out to wrap my car in plastic wrap. Oh. Two years in a row. And Stacy was behind all that, too. Yep. So, totally wrapped up. I mean, I had to wait to get scissors to actually cut the saran wrap to be able to open the car up. So, again, if anything's going to happen, any kind of pranks or anything like that, it's usually in Gettysburg. And it seems like it revolves around Jones, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Interesting. We'll have to make a note of that. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I guess we can get into more serious stuff now. But I wanted to open on a lighter note because it's kind of. Hey, that's a great story. No, it's a great story. Yeah, it's I love it. It's a funny story. It is. It's a funny story. But I guess I've been doing a lot of. In the 20th year here, I've been doing a lot of reminiscing, a lot of fun reminiscing. That's for sure. I've done some serious reminiscing too, though. There've been some. If you don't mind me bringing it down a little bit here, and then we can launch into some other reminiscing here too, and launch into some history here as well in the front part of the program before we get to the back half here, and then we'll talk a little bit of business in the back half. Our third guest in 2006 was a good friend of both of ours, and that's Rosemary Ellen Guiley. Yeah. And I didn't even, I'll be honest with you, John, I didn't even want to look to see how many years it's been since Rose has been gone. Gosh. You know what's so funny now, Tim? I have to sit here, and I just went back and forth with her husband yesterday. Yeah. Because he takes care of ordering two of my titles, Demon Haunted and Haunted by the Things You Love. Mm-hmm. And we were just literally going back and forth yesterday because I was ordering some of my books for, next couple of conferences and everything. That's funny, but I can't, is it about 10 years? Yeah. Or not even? Well, it's getting close. Yeah? Yeah. The only thing I remember, again, and I talk about it,
is the fact that when she was getting close to death, her husband calls me up and he says, "You're being summoned. You must come up to the house." So they only lived a half hour north of here. You know, her and I used to hang out, get together, have lunch, and do all kinds of things. So I went up and, she was, pretty much towards the end. She passed away shortly right after that. And she was laying there on the couch. And I remember her just looking up at me, "John." And I go, "Yeah, Roro," because I always called her Roro. Mm-hmm. She goes, "I can't finish the last book." Well, her husband was standing behind the couch and I was in front of it and everything. And I turned and looked at her and I says, "Who gives an F about the freaking book right now, Ro?" Yeah. Nobody cares about it. I do. And I was like, "You are unbelievable." But again, she went back and forth, over that. And then shortly, unfortunately, she had passed away. Boy, can you imagine what she would be saying today about this field?
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't even answer the phone.
Well, what do you think she'd say about some of what's going on?
She'd be going nuts. She'd be going crazy. I can hear her already with just a lot of the ways things are handled, the way they're done, the controversy that just gets so totally out of control. Mm-hmm. And the amount of things that are occurring and happening. I feel that, she would be, because she always took everything very serious. Yeah. She was a very, very serious, dedicated researcher. Mm-hmm. And she deserved it. Let me tell you. I mean, that woman was like a walking encyclopedia. Yeah. But, again, you would get her to horse around to joke. She would lighten up sometimes, but that was her character. She was just a very straight, focused type individual. And she always would say, she says, "You always, if I'm in a bad mood, can always cheer me up a little bit." And I go, "Well, you would never know it. You don't usually laugh or anything, She goes, "No," she said, the worst of times or anything like that, she says, "You'll always try to flip it and turn it more into a positive and make things humorous." I said, "Well, you're better off to do it that way." Right. That's how I look at it. I still do that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, by the way, footnote, I was looking it up. It'll be 7 years this summer that she passed away.
7 years. Okay. Yeah. I remember I was out on the road. Yeah. When I had, got the official word, because she wanted to go back home, which was Washington, the state of Washington, is where she was born, and she was raised as a child. She wanted to go back home and be with her sister and be buried with her family. Yeah. So Joe had brought her back to where she wanted to go, and she was there for a few weeks.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. As I was sitting down and I was planning out this month, there's that hole in the calendar. And I thought, one of my favorite memories of traveling around with you guys in those first couple of years was the Queen Mary trip, where she was kind of walking around the lobby and looking around. And I went up and I said, "Well, Rosemary," I said, "is there anything I can help you with?" And she said, "I'm hungry and I want lunch and I don't know what I'm going to do about it." And I said, "You haven't had lunch?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, neither have I." And I said, "Is there anywhere I can take you?" And she said, "I'd like to get off this ship." So I took her off the ship, and we had one of the most wonderful 2-hour lunches I think I've ever had in my life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was, I was privileged to have that time with her, and it was just, it was wonderful. We just got off the ship and went and ate and just talked. Yeah. Yeah.
The best thing with me all the time was when she'd be angry or upset over something. And again, I would kick my humor in, and she would always go, "John?" And I go, "Yeah, Roro, you're a very complex individual." She says, "Sometimes I'm not quite sure." And I go, "You're not the first person to ever say that."
I don't remember. We were all in the lobby of the Stanley Hotel. I don't remember if it was you or her. One or the other of you looked at the other in front of all of us in the lobby and said, well, should we go hit the hot tub? And I think all of our jaws dropped because it was you were joking around.
That had to be me because she would have looked and went, honestly, John, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you both played along with it because all of us went, oh, and like, are they really going to?
That had to be a type. If you got 2 or 3 drinks into her, then she would really start cutting up. And I used to try to do that to her all the time. She got wise to it. She goes, no. She said, you're trying to get me intoxicated. I said, yeah, because you lighten up and you start joking around and everything.
Yeah. I know you all floored us. That's for sure. We were floored.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. It was good stuff. The other one as I'm going down the calendar and booking for the month that again, that hole was felt in the calendar is Father Andrew Calder.
Yeah.
This one, I couldn't believe either. 2012 is when he left us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's been a long, long time there too. All I remember there is thinking, and what is it about you demonologists and your sense of humor? I mean, there's a rich sense of humor there. Do you have to have that sense of humor there when it comes to bucking up and fighting the evil side of things?
I think so. Yeah. Again, a lot of the guys in the demonology end of this are, they don't joke around and horse around. I mean, I even joke around during exorcisms. Yeah. Again, I'm notoriously known for that. So it's just, to me, it's lighthearted and it makes things easier when you're joking around and horsing around and everything like that. I mean, Andy, the whole old regime, there's not many left now, Tim.
Yeah.
Again, all of us used to hang around. We'd stay at each other's houses. We'd just go out and grab lunch and, do different things. Today, it's no longer like that. I mean, we just, the field isn't what it was back then. But then again, it was a lot smaller community. Mm-hmm. The community isn't what it is today. Again, again, there's a few left. And glad I was friends with quite a few of them. Andy was like my brother. I mean, through good, bad, anything, with Andy, we always hung in there, helped each other out, and right up to the end there, I can still remember Evie putting the phone up to his ear just when he could barely even speak anymore.
Yeah.
And, as always he says, I'll miss you, man. I love you, man.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I remember. And I had hung the phone up at that point, and I said it's just going to be a matter of, time now before he's actually gone. So
yeah, I remember getting a call.
I remember that phone call, and I was always happy that Evie did that.
Yeah, she was so wonderful for keeping us all in touch with him, and yeah, I miss him greatly. I mean, we're both diabetic, and we talk quite a bit and talk quite a bit about the condition and things to do. And there was a lot of the warning signs along the way that he'd say, look out for this, look out for that. And I'll tell you this much, John, between you, me, and tens of thousands of people out there, that he, with this Charcot foot that developed, if it weren't for Andy, I tell you, I probably would have lost his foot. He gave me a lot of warning signs along the way to look out for, to kind of roadblocks to swerve around and really to help me maintain my foot. And to this day, I've been able to keep my foot healthy. So it really, if it weren't for Father Andy Calder, I think I probably would have lost his foot. So I have him to thank. So thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. I really do. I tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get on a happier note. And I kind of want to go down the road a little bit and talk a little bit about a special relationship you have that sprung from TV. So we'll talk about some happy TV stuff. And then I want to weigh in on some of the current state of the paranormal. We'll talk about stuff that's going on with the current state of the paranormal. And then I want to get in on I see the crucifix being held up now, and I promise I'll try to make it as painless as possible. I promise you, Godfather. And then we'll talk the latest book, Trilogy of Terror. We'll talk a little bit about where books in the future may go, and we'll talk a little bit about where you see yourself going in the future as well. Sound good, John?
Sounds great to me.
All right. Thank you so much. John Zaffis is our guest. And again, we're celebrating 20th anniversaries and 20th anniversary of Darkness Radio. And we're kind of catching up and seeing where we are. Yeah, every once in a while, you got to check in with old friends. And of course, we needed to check in with the Godfather Paranormal and kind of check the temperature of the paranormal as it is. So when we come back with John Zaffis, we'll talk old relationships. We'll talk new beginnings, and much, much more. John Zaffis right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is John Zaffis. The book that's currently out there, Trilogy of Terror. We have a link in the description of this program. It's written by John, Reverend Larry, and Debbie Elward. So I encourage you to go get that book. We have a link, again, in the description of this program. I encourage you to highly to go get that book. Very good book. We'll talk a little bit about it here in this segment. John, before we left people, I teased that we were going to talk about some relationships that you'd formed in this past 20 years on television. I want to start first with, and just a quick recap for our audience that may not know. Of course, you've developed this moniker of the Godfather of the Paranormal. I know how it came about. It's kind of that call of who do you call when you're deep in the shit? Let's call it what it is. And of course, you're the man, and it's well known. And I think the guys who probably started and called you first, I think it's fair to say, would probably be the guys over at Taps. If we had to, the most well-known ones that called you. How did
Godfather,
you?
yeah.
How did you deliver?
Definitely did. It started off with just a PR thing that they were doing. Actually, a couple of my agents at that point, Timmy and Rich, they were joking around one day, and they go, "You're the Godfather. You know, you're the oldest out of all of them." And actually, their representation was of just about all of us in the paranormal field at that point. Mm-hmm. So again, that's how that all started. Then once that advertisement came out, oh man, everybody picked right up on that. And I just went with that and started calling me the Godfather. So again, it's just one of those things that stuck. I mean, I laugh, I joke. I get called a hell of a lot of things, so I go with the flow. Ziggity, Godfather, you name it, all kinds of things. So again, it's something that I just look at that when people do that, or OG. I had to look up because I had no freaking clue what OG meant.
You didn't?
But when. Because that's what I hear some of the younger ones say today.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what does that actually mean? So I went and looked it up, the definition of it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. It just, it's good in a sense that, I look at it from the perspective that, a few people look at it, from that perspective, because actually I'm hitting 53 years now being involved with dealing with the paranormal or being involved with it. So that's a pretty storied history. When you hear 53 years, or when you put 53 years in your mind, now I think of the fact that I've been in broadcasting for about 38, and I think to myself, there's no way, but then I go back and I count the years. And I go, man, it has been. And then I sit and I think about this show, 20 years, and I go, man, it's been 20 years. Yeah.
And it flew by. Does it feel like it's been that long?
No, No, it really doesn't. Because again, too, I take that step back and I look at everything because I worked full time for 30 years. I worked at a pharmaceutical company,
Hmm.
and I got caught back when they did that big wave of everything got caught. We hit that whole area. Thousands of people got laid off at the company I worked at, and I was like, "The hell am I gonna do?" And jokingly, my wife looked at me. She says, "Why don't you try lecturing full time?" I go, "But this, how am I going to ever make a living off of something like that?" I had no clue that, okay, because that was right at the beginning when all of us were just starting. We're starting to get agents to pick us up, to represent us. The TV shows were all starting to hit. So it actually worked out in my favor that, I was able to make a halfway decent living to keep myself going and keep going over the past 20 years with lecturing and doing a few books here and there and a few other things. So
I'm curious what did the people at the pharmaceutical company say when did they ever find out that there was this other job of you
I worked for
it?
one of the it was US Surgical.
Really?
And they actually had developed that laparoscopic that they use today for all the surgeries.
Yeah.
Well, I was involved with that when they first developed that, when that first came out.
Really?
So it was so cool to be involved with that. But anyways, we had thousands of people that worked at this company. And, it used to be an interesting concept because back then it was I go out and do investigations, would go to work, go into the gym, take a shower, get dressed, and go into work. If I did that today, I'd come home and sleep for 5 days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do that. And, it used to be pretty cool. A lot of times sitting around having lunch, people would ask what was going on and what was happening. I mean, it was recognized, but not to the full extent of, what today is as far as the paranormal goes. But again, nobody really, I never really had too many people really say, on a negative level, they would always ask me what was going on or what was happening. Not that they necessarily believed in it, but they always used to like the stories.
Well, I suppose from a bunch of people who are from a medical background, I suppose they're taking in all sides, right? It could either be someone who's mentally ill, it could be somebody who's truly possessed. I suppose they're taking in all angles, and they're thinking it's a fascinating story either way. I got to hear what John was doing with his weekend, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, because I did deal with a lot of medical people, in the perspective of it back then, and they did not look at it or recognize anything from that perspective. It had to be, cut and dry. It had to be proven out scientifically, charted, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But, they were still curious in regards to a lot of the different things. And then you would often hear stories back then when, they'd be involved in a surgery or something, and a person would pass away, and the atmosphere and everything would change within the room, and lights would flicker or something would happen. And I go, well, doesn't that make you think that there's something going on? And subject would get changed right at that point in time. They just didn't want to pursue it any further. So again, I mean, it's just it's the nature of it. I understand it and comprehend it.
Right.
Because to this day, people say the way you look at the supernatural and the paranormal it's very unique. And I go, well, why do you say that? They go, you're very accepting of things. If somebody could debunk something that you were involved with 20, 30 years ago, you sit there and go, okay, let me rethink this. Let me look at something from that perspective. And, again, can I say, good possibility. The possibilities are there and they're endless. So therefore, you have to keep that open mind. Okay, it's the same thing like with poltergeist cases. Mm-hmm. Years ago, when I dealt with poltergeist cases, we thought they were demonic and evil. Yeah. I mean, today we know totally different. It's a KP, psychic kinetic energy, that's being able to be harnessed and can manipulate and do things and cause things to happen, and technically has nothing to do with the supernatural.
Right.
Thus, again, that takes a lot of years because I often sit back and go, I wonder what that my uncle would ever say if one of us threw that at him today. I can see the look on his face. What the hell are you talking about? It's the devil. I can hear him already,
Right.
and it would be like, no, Ed, it's proven out that, things are happening. We don't know how, but there's certain children that have that ability to make things happen and cause things to break, cause it to rain, start fires, and then it could just disappear. So I don't know. I often wonder about that, to be honest with you, what his perspective would be on just over the past 10 years on how this field went.
Let's pivot to that for a second, because
Yeah.
it seems like I wonder that too, what Ed would think about how things have pivoted from an extremely skeptical field, which we got into really when Ghost Hunters boomed and then Ghost Adventures came along and everybody had to be a skeptic. And now we're right back to that field again of investigating where everybody has to have, it's the Holzer method, where everybody has to have a good transmedium. And we're right back there again. What do you think Ed would say about all this, where we're switching theories again?
It'd be interesting to listen to a lot of his ways of how he would interpret something today. Because I'll tell you, when I look at some of the things that he would say and some of the things he would do, to me, they would never make any sense. When we would deal with something like the jinn or jinn, as we call it today, we have more of a better understanding of that. Thus, again, due to Rosemary Ellen Guiling, because she did a whole book and brought it to the forefront. But when we used to deal with those types of cases, he didn't say that. He'd say genie in the bottle, genie in the bottle, it's a genie, and he didn't want to touch it. He wanted nothing to do with it. Back then, I didn't quite understand it. I understand it now. Comparison to the way he would say or the way he would react to certain things. And I go, well, he knew it, but the terminology and the way he would handle things were so totally different. And I always try to explain to people, you have to remember, Ed and Lorraine were from that time set that they went by their Catholicism on a lot of it. They really did.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime I would think about certain things or certain aspects and how it would be viewed by him today, I often wonder. Because I can remember with mental illness or, bipolar or schizophrenia or something like that, he honestly felt that if these people got cleansed, it might cure them. He honestly did believe some of that some of the times.
Really?
Again, I some of the different perspectives of it, looking at it, okay, he would wholeheartedly believe that one way or another, sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of the times that it could have been cured by somebody coming in and doing quote unquote religious rites to be able to fix people. And that's a very old world way to look at stuff.
Yeah.
Very old world, but they did. And again, they would be very hopeful, very hopeful. I watched it several times, and then that telephone would call in and Lorraine would say, well, a lot of the things started back up. It didn't work. So again, but they would still hang in there and insist that, sooner or later, something from a spiritual perspective was going to work. They would honestly 100% believe that. Today, no. I mean, if somebody's bipolar, schizophrenia, all these different things, or as I refer to it, ticky-ticky-tock-tock, again, it is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is. But there are those situations, especially with clergy friends of mine, that they'll say, they want to, at least try from a spiritual perspective to see if there's going to be any different. And I'll go help them. I will jump right in and still help them. Because again, if it does help in some way, shape, or form and can cause some of the activity to cease or cause, some of the things that are going on in that person's life or home then you actually gained something. You didn't lose something because you still were able to help them.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. I can't rule anything out. I can't prove or disprove that devils or demons or angels exist. None of us can. But there's sure an awful heck of a lot of stuff that happens out there that we can't prove or disprove.
I know you tend to be pretty, you're a lot more malleable, I think, than Ed and Lorraine were. I know that you tend to bring in help from the outside. You tend to bring in, if someone's of the Jewish faith or the Hindu faith, you will bring in an exorcist of that faith.
Oh, yeah. But Tim, I got to tell you, so did Ed and Lorraine. That's what the bizarre part was. It wasn't to the movies and everything that they ended up just focusing on their Catholicism from being Roman Catholic. Mm-hmm. Because I've met rabbis through them, shamans through them, a Buddhist. There was a big show done on it, a Buddhist exorcism, and they brought me aboard when they were doing it. Now, the one thing that I always found interesting with it is that as these ceremonies and things were happening, they would sit there. Lorraine would be praying, have a rosary bead out and everything, and Ed would just get very quiet. He wouldn't say or do anything like that. And then when everything was over with, he'll go, "What do you think? What do you think?" I'll go, "Well, hopefully it worked. Hopefully it did something." But he always respected it, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
Because normally he'd be like, it's a bunch of crap. But he wouldn't do it when the ceremonies were going on. Mm-hmm. And I paid attention to that. And I never said anything. I just let it be. I said, well, that's his way of respecting the way different things do. And you got to remember, he was a demonologist. Thus, again, did he study a lot of different practices and different things? Absolutely. I don't know too much that he didn't poke around with or get involved with, because I can still remember a lot of times he would say, "Did you know this?" or "Did you know that?" and blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, "No." He goes, "Yeah, I was reading about this, what they do and how they believe in past lives or reincarnation and why they're sacrificing and why they're doing this." Blah, blah. And I would just sit there and listen to him sometimes and go, "Oh, all right." So again, it's amazing how people perceive things and look at things. And I naturally look at things probably differently than most people because I was on the inside. I would see things that other people never were going to see or experience. So I look at it differently. Because let's face it, Tim, you and I both know that both of them are very controversial. Right. Always have been, always will be. So, and I just sit back a lot of times when I hear this stuff and just go, well, it is what it is. And, again, if it wasn't for them, the movies wouldn't have gotten out there. Those cases would have never been told. Their books would have never gotten out there, Right. So, again, controversial, absolutely. Right. But that's one thing I'll always say. As long as the paranormal's around, the people get involved with it, there's two names that people will always remember. Ed and Lorraine Warren. People will never forget them.
Very true. Very true. Let me go back to a point here, John, and I want to get your opinion on something you said about Ed there during an exorcism where he would sit back, observe if there's someone of a different faith doing something. He's quiet, yet he may be a little skeptical as to what's going on. Do you believe if you're skeptical about something that another shaman is doing, say a shaman's doing something, and you're maybe putting your own energy in, but it's of a different faith, do those energies combat each other or do they add to what you're doing?
I have to honestly say, looking back upon it, I would say adding to it.
Okay.
Again, I believe very strongly in the fact of the collective. And when I say collective, the power of prayer in this circumstances. And, whether they're chanting or praying or, hollering, whatever it is, it's focusing that energy to come in as a positive. Okay. So therefore, by them sitting there and them going in, especially Lorraine, I knew she was in her prayer mood, never knew exactly what was going on in my uncle's head, but he would stay very focused. So I often said to myself, he was probably doing some prayers in his mind, thinking that they were Roman Catholic and they had to protect themselves because they were dealing with, with a foreign religion and stuff like that. Again, just watching the dynamics of it was what gave me a healthier respect with understanding a lot of stuff. And that came from them. It just came from them. I met more witches through them than I met anybody else. So again, it's just the fact of it. And again, you watch anything or you watch some of the movies or you hear anything about them, you would think, they were these devout Roman Catholics that were running around, and I go, well, they believed in it, they practiced it, but I've seen them get involved with other things besides that.
If I can, I know you've expounded a little bit online. I know it's been a common thing that Karen Smurl talked about online, this last Conjuring movie. Nice plot, had nothing to do with anything having to do with anything in reality. Can you expound on it a little bit?
It was very difficult. I was looking so forward to going to see that. The Smurl case was a pretty horrific case. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of activity that went down. Did I work on the original case? No, but I had gone down. It was when they were in another location, living someplace else, is what I can remember, because, Tim, it gets rough after, 30, 40 years. It's hard to remember.
Yeah,
exactly where the hell you were or who you were with. But I remember bits and pieces. But I had gone down with Bishop McKenna. He was training 2 people, and one of them was Larry Elward at that point, to become a priest. And he had gone down. They were doing all the prayers and everything. I remember seeing a couple of the kids around, and we had left, and things had calmed down. So I had remembered that. Then years later, I got involved with another house down in the area where 2 of the daughters had lived that had a crazy haunting, and we found out from the history of it there was voodoo done on the property. So, again, a lot of these cases, it's just weird, Tim, how I ended up getting involved with stuff that was the after effect that tied some of the families in. And, again, I had Jack, I had talked very, very briefly to one day when we were down working on the house where 2 of the daughters were living, and he didn't want to discuss nothing, didn't want to talk about it. And I talked to a couple people that were involved with the original case. But anyways, back to the movie, I was so looking forward to it because it would have been, a perspective, finally from the Smurl family with getting it out there. I don't think any of us were prepared to go and sit in there and watch the life story of Tony and Judy. Yeah. I don't think anybody was interested in hearing about their engagement or their wedding, or I'm sorry. It should have been about the Smurl family, and it should have been about the clergy and Ed and Lorraine being involved with the case. End of story.
Right.
Not about this whole other end of it that it just had nothing, and it really hurt the franchise. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, again, I was vocal about it, which I'm usually not with most things, but again, they should have, if they felt they wanted to end it out after being around them and doing 4 or 5 movies already, knowing what Ed and Lorraine were about and everything, they should have closed it out with them, stepping down and, okay, fine, or just going into semi-retirement or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they portrayed it like Judy drove down there and tried to help the family out. Judy never got involved with anything with the paranormal. Nothing.
Right.
Never. So, again, she'd go and help her mom and dad at different points, after, when she was single, after she got divorced the first time, and help them out with different lectures and things of that nature. But again, no. So it was very difficult for a lot of people. And I feel, again, looking at it, not just from my perspective, but, several other researchers that got involved with some of these cases, not to even get, at least an acknowledgement. Again, so no, it was one of the least favorite movies out of all of them, as far as I'm concerned. Didn't even last in the theaters, more than a week and a half, I think.
Yeah, it didn't last.
I don't even think it lasted. Yeah. So again, but person after person would just email me and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe that." And I'm like, "Don't even ask." I said, then that's when I decided, I said to myself, no, I'm just going to be vocal on it because I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
So again, it is what it is.
Do you think they were trying to set up for a future franchise for Tony and Judy down the line? Do you think they were trying to spin off yet again for something down the line? Or do you think that they're going to just leave this alone now?
I have no clue, what the perspective of it was, but after I sat there and watched the movie, I can't say I don't think the same thing because it made it look like it. Then at one point he's throwing the keys to the kingdom at him. When did that ever happen? That again, my uncle collapsed. He was out of it. There was never a point in time where he threw the keys at anybody, nobody.
Right.
So that just did not happen or occur. So, but the way they structured it and the way they did it, I think, especially knowing everything they knew, again, Hollywood has a weird perspective on things.
Yeah.
They really, really do. I mean, I've learned it the hard way, like a lot of other people. And again, I would have looked at that and totally different from how they did it because like I said, I think it hurt the franchise. It hurt it.
Why
really did.
Why do you suppose they didn't take and put you as a character more in the forefront, being that you're in the family business?
I don't know. I can never answer that for you. How come several other people that were involved, not just family, but several other people that were around my aunt and uncle, working on cases over the course of years? How come, you don't see or get any connection with some of that? Because Tim, you know me well enough. If I heard, okay, so-and-so was involved with working on this case or that case and it got brought up, I'd be, yeah, I was there. I saw it. Yes, we did work together on those cases. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with, saying anything like that, especially when people donated their time and put their time in. Again, that's the most realistic way to look at things, but Hollywood doesn't look at it that way. They just don't. Again, I understand all the paperwork, the litigation, and all the happy bullshit that goes along with all that behind the scenes. Yeah. I do get it. I understand that. But looking at it for the forefront of it, I walked out of that theater just like, I didn't even understand my family history anymore. It was like all of a sudden Judy was 10 years older than me. Now all of a sudden she was 10 years younger than me. So it was just, again.
Yeah.
So it is what it is when it comes into the perspective of different things.
Kind of spiraled a little out of control there.
It did spiral a little out of control. And like I said, I think that's the most vocal I've been on any of the stories or any of the stuff that's out there. Because again, I don't know, if I was involved with anything like that, making movies or TV shows or anything like that, sure the heck wouldn't want to go off that far off the path with who's been involved with working on things and totally creating this whole fictional area with people being involved with doing the things. No. I mean, there's too many people out there. There's such a thing as, quote, the internet today. I mean, one thing gets posted out there, as well as I do, that goes viral. Oh, that's the end of it. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So again, but they don't, Hollywood, maybe a little bit more so now, but I can remember again when I was doing different things or doing Haunted Collector, and I'll go, you got to be careful what you say, what you do. I guess that's going to get picked up in social media. Oh, that's nothing. That's going to disappear. Yeah, it disappeared. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it did. Let's talk a little bit more family history then, and then we'll move on to a different subject here. I'm interested to see what you think about what Ed would have said about the traveling museum traveling.
The only thing that always comes to mind is, again, I have to take the step back and look at the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know. None of us would ever know exactly what Ed Warren would say because he went down in 2001.
Right.
Whoever in the world thought that paranormal conventions were going to be what they are today?
Right.
None of us ever seen that coming.
I did.
They would have been up in, right?
Yeah.
They would have been up in their, 80s when all of it really started coming to the forefront. So I'm not 100%, sure what Ed would have thought about it. Lorraine did bring out items with Tony and Ryan Buell to a couple of places in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I know after the second round out there, she had told several people she was uncomfortable with it. It was bothering her. It was going against what they stood for. They had set up doing Annabelle dinners where they were bringing out several different items. She also had said to people that she was not comfortable. It just bothered her. But Tim, she still needed to raise money. I mean, again, she was trying to keep the house. Because a lot of people thought they ended up with millions and millions of dollars. And I can tell you right now, they did not have millions and millions of dollars.
No.
They did not.
No.
So I don't know how it would be handled. Now, on the other side of that, I could tell you many a times when I'd be with him, especially down in the museum. Don't touch this. Don't ever take it out of the case. You got to be careful with this stuff. All hell could break loose, blah, 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 blah. And on that note, that stays there too. So when I look at it, and that's why I'm explaining it,
Yep.
It's like a double-edged sword because times have changed. Situations have changed. Would he have or wouldn't he have? I don't know. I don't know how he would have looked at it. I don't even know how he would think about these movies. Again, I think about that. I'm going to tell you I'll tell you this right now.
Mm-hmm.
That Last Rites one, he would have walked right out of the screening of that. That I do know. He would have walked out of the screening. I know he would have.
Interesting.
So, again, with the dynamics with all that and just looking at that perspective of it, I don't know. I don't know. Because people say to me all the time, too, well, Annabelle's not a really haunted. Yes, it is. Because I was around before the case got famous or before any of these cases got famous. And I remember some of the stigma that went with these items. He would always, both of them. Because I had moved Annabelle one time when it was in a chair in their living room. So we could sit down. I mean, my grandmother was even still alive at that point. But anyways, she screamed bloody murder. He touched it. My head's going, Jesus Christ, what happened? She goes, he touched it. He moved it. So they're throwing freaking holy water on me and every freaking thing. I didn't know what was going on. So there was something with a lot of that stuff, Tim, regardless of what anybody ever tells me, they're not going to change my mind. I don't care what you tell me.
No,
I was there firsthand.
Yeah. And
I saw some of this stuff. And just, like I said, this is prior to movies or anything happening. And, I was dating this one girl. I scared the shit out of her. She didn't watch it. I'm very serious. It was a family dinner we had gone up for. Both my sisters were there. I was there. My mom, my dad, my aunt, their other brother was. I mean, there was a lot of us there when all this had happened and everything. And I still remember my grandmother. She was just sitting there looking at everybody, and she goes, "What the hell's going on?" I go, "I don't know." My grandmother was a little shit and. She was just, she didn't care what she said or anything like that. But again, kind of like my uncle. But anyhow, I remember that. She was just sitting there. She looked around and she just yelled it right out. She goes, "What the hell's going on?" And I looked over at her. I go, "I don't know." So, but it was funny. It's
Yeah.
funny now that I look back at that and look at it today, and then people say they don't think the doll was really haunted. Then why did he do that?
Right. Right.
Why? Why? I don't. There was no theatrics. There was no cameras rolling. There were no, you know, there was nothing to do with any media whatsoever. It was a family get together.
Right. Well,
Like I said, as long as it did, it freaked everybody out. And my mother, too, it freaked her the hell out because she never wanted anything to do with the paranormal. Nothing. She didn't want anything to do with that. And I remember at that point in time, she was just sitting there getting all nervous and getting scared and everything else. I remember that.
when something's got that much power, I mean, you got to respect it, right? I mean, that's just all there's to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you this much, when I think of that situation with Annabelle, I kind of draw the parallel to this, and whether it's cringeworthy or not, I don't know. You've got haunted dolls that Zach Baggins has in his museum that he allows people to tour and go past, but you don't take it home with you, or you don't take it on the road. It's not a mobile piece that goes from city to city. And I sometimes wonder, okay, you're putting yourself in that danger. You're subjecting yourself. It's up to you to come in and protect yourself, to expose yourself to that danger. Whereas this is being brought to you to a city. And is there a difference in danger, or is it all the same stew in the same pot?
I would probably look at it from a perspective of whether we believe or not that taking an item out on the road and it has a lot of negative energy and negative things attached to it, as we know Annabelle doll does. Again, there hasn't ever been a show where I said I didn't think the thing had something with it. What's with it? I don't freaking know, but there's something with that freaking doll. But again, creating the environment with, having the items and traveling with them. Again, how do you dispute so many different things that transpired and happened out on the road at different locations that they were at, where things would occur and happen? I mean, do I know that there's any connection? No, I don't, Tim. None of us do.
Right.
But it's awful freaky, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how to look at certain things from the perspective of, is that particular item or items responsible and somehow or another causing some of those things or associated with some of those things that have occurred while it was out on the road? I don't know. That's my honest opinion.
Do you feel like, and again, this is a totally subjective question.
That's okay.
But do you feel like a spirit with that much malevolence, when it's in its home court, so to speak, is a little bit more at home, subdued, not wanting to get in as much trouble? Whereas if you take it on the road, it's tempted. It's got a little more temptation. It wants to go out and play. It wants to find out about its new surroundings.
All right. I can look at this a little bit differently, going from the demonology perspective of this.
Okay.
Again, if you have something that, depending on how big, but whether it's a devil, demon, jinn, whatever attached to it,
right,
or negative energy, dark negative energy. Once it's out in the forefront and it's brought out, and you can't control what other people are doing in these environments. Thus, if you got somebody that's going to be around this and use that vessel to tap into some type of energy, you can't prevent that. Okay. None of us can prevent that. Thus, could items of that magnitude cause something even of a more, diabolical or darker situation to occur, I have to absolutely say 100% yes. I mean, again, you just take that step back and look at when people are doing rituals, voodoo or Satanism or anything like that with that collective, what happens? The energy builds up. It's being pulled together as a collective, thus causing things to happen. Well, that is still a vessel like anything else is. So therefore, could that trigger more of a situation? It could. Doesn't mean it is, but it could. All theory. All this stuff we talk about is all theory. That's all we have to base this stuff on.
Right, right. Let's switch gears here as we're starting to wind down on our time here, John. And again, I appreciate all the time that you've given us here today. Want to start to talk a little bit about the future, but yet still reach into the past here and talk a little bit about Haunted Collector, some of the relationships you formed there, and one very special relationship you formed with Brian J. Cano, who's very fond of you. And really the future of the paranormal, because I really do believe Brian's the future of the paranormal. He really is.
It's so funny you're saying that. I was talking to him earlier this morning.
Yeah.
Brian's like one of my freaking kids. Our friendship, him and Chris Mancuso from out on the island, as I always say, they live out on the island. We became very, very good friends in Gettysburg.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, it was, again, at one of the conventions down there. And we formed, a very good bond and a good friendship. And it's remained over all these years where the three of us are still very, very, very good friends. I mean, Chris, I don't talk to too much. I mean, he works full time and everything, but we do talk and go back and forth. But we could go months without talking, and they get on the phone, and man, we just bust each other's chops like you can't believe. But that's Chris; he's a New Yorker. Yeah,
yeah.
It's just that environment with us too. But again, with Brian, I think what established a lot of different things with him is that he likes everything proven out. He tries to look for logical explanations that come to things or why something's occurring. And when he can't find it is when I get hysterical. Because there's so many times, if you want to call it debunking, where he would try to find why something's occurring or why it's not happening. And there was at one point in time, he looked at me and he goes, "Why does so much shit happen around you?" And I go, "I don't know. I can't answer that." I said, "But my uncle used to say that too."
Yeah.
He did. He used to say that. He goes, "You're around it, shit happens." He goes, "Are you stirring the pot?" And I go, "No, I don't. I don't do it. I just don't get it." But anyhow, Brian does the same thing. And there's been many a times where he'll be doing something or working on something and trying to figure out how the heck did that just occur or happen. And I'll just look at him and I'll go, "There is no explanation." He'll go, "Shut up, Ziggity. Just shut up." And I'll bust out laughing even more. So, on that note with a lot of that, again, it's the nature of it, but that's a very healthy thing.
Yeah.
And I like that when a person goes in there, rips it apart, they're looking for, a logical explanation. But on the flip end of it, 99.9% of the time, you're going to find the logical explanation on how something could happen, how that cup slid across the table. Was it on an angle? Was it crooked? Was there some type of breeze? People are going to come up with all that. And, again, I take all that into consideration. And what do? I just sit back and bust out laughing.
Yeah.
You can't prove or disprove a lot of the things that occur or don't occur. I mean, again, you can see somebody say, "Oh, well, that levitated and happened because there was a piece of, string on it, fish wire on it, and that's how they got it to do." That could have happened. I don't know that. But if I'm there and I see something occurring and happening, you're not going to prove to me that it was fake because I'm watching it. I'm seeing it. I'm looking. I mean, is there any fish wire attached to it or anything like that? I'd be the first one to say, cut the crap.
Right.
Just cut the crap with trying to do something like that because it's just not going to work.
Right.
So, anyways, that's what's always been interesting about Brian, and to this day, I'll still do that with him. He'll start talking to me about certain scenarios or certain things. I'll just stand there. He'll go, "Shut up, Ziggity, just shut up."
The thing I think I love the most about Brian is this, and that is, in this field of investigating, you do need, again, you need the light that attracts the moths, and that's you, and then you need the hardcore skeptical, brilliant mind that is Brian, that can say, okay, this wonderful thing just happened in front of us, but let's break it down and see why it would have happened, and let's be logical about it. And and you do need the brilliant mind that says, let's look at all scenarios and be able to break down those scenarios intelligently. And again, that's him. And he's one of the best.
Which is good. It's healthy to do that.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I wasn't like that, though. Again, because back when I got involved with most of it, somebody got scratched or pushed. Oh, it was the devil. It was the devil. Yeah. That's what I was taught. That's what I believed. But then again, as you evolve, as long as you evolve, along with no matter what field you're in, and you can finally have explanations for some of the things, that's okay. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with that. But when you don't, but yet you're going to create an explanation, no, I'm not going to agree with that. I'm just not going to agree with it. You want to think that? That's fine. Knock your socks off. But again, I stood there, I seen it, I witnessed it. Don't tell me it didn't happen. Yeah. Again, I'm just going to laugh and go, I stood right there. I seen it. I watched it. There's this one story, and I brought it up. I can't remember what I was doing. I was doing a show, and it was summertime, and it was in the 80s. I was bringing the emails up to their house and dropping them off. And the doors were all open and everything. It was a different world back then. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, they weren't in the kitchen or anything. And I saw the museum doors were open. So I went back down the stairs, went around, and I was going in the back door. My uncle was standing there, and Lorraine was up where the shelves were in the Annabelle case and everything. And she was cleaning and moving stuff. And she had leaned over, and she was doing something, and he started just screaming. He goes, "Don't be touching that stuff. You're going to get, things are going to start, things are going to get activated. God, then I got to start, I got to go through everything and blah, 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 blah." And, all of a sudden I went, "Hey," like that. And both of them just stopped and turned and looked at me. If some of these things weren't true and some of these things didn't happen, who the freak were they performing for? They didn't know I was there. They had no clue. I just had walked in there. Yeah. None. And nobody else was there.
Right.
So again, afterwards, we were going through some of the emails and everything like that. And, I just turned and looked at him. I said, "Yeah, she was touching some of that shit, huh?" Then he would kick up all over again. "I told her not to." And she'll go, "You had to get him going again, didn't you? You had to get him going again." And it was just funny. And with stuff like that, or when they would say or do things, I look back at it now and go, there was no cameras running. Mm-hmm. There was no media. There was no one there. They weren't. Who were they performing for? Each other? So, it's just little quirky stories like that, Tim, that I stick, close by, that I just go through in my mind like that and just say to myself, when they experienced things or things were going on or anything, they explained it or did it the way they only knew. Mm-hmm. And that's how they would handle it. Again, it is what it is, and like I said, it's because, a lot of times somebody will say to me, "Oh, they're picking on me," or "Oh, they're writing this or they're writing that." I'll go, "Don't bark up this tree, kid. I've been getting screamed and yelled at, picked at, and called a fraud and everything for 50 freaking years, so shut the hell up." I'm the king of that one.
Speaking of, let's talk about detractors real quick, and then we'll jump into the book. I know that I find it a little funny when people like to throw the F word around, fake. Especially when they haven't jumped in the arena themselves. Keyboard warriors are a funny thing, John. I love recently, like I said, last week I had Jason on the show, and a few keyboard warriors like to jump up and go, "Oh, that show is fake." Well, that's pretty brave of you, sitting behind a keyboard and being able to throw the F word out and being able to throw that word out there without, I bet, never having gone on an investigation. But you can call it fake from behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
You got to have some pretty thick skin in order to do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But how do you throw that authenticity out there and tell somebody who can throw that F word out there so quickly, come on over to my side if you really want to see how real it really is?
I don't bother anymore, Tim.
Okay.
Years ago, I think I did it more, and I would take that step back and just say, go with me. You want to see a poltergeist case? You want to see furniture move? Or, I can't guarantee it's going to happen, but, from everything I've been told so far, I could still remember we had a doctor, we had a scientist, and there was somebody else, an attorney. And Ed said, do me a favor, take these 3 new students with you. And, again, at that point in time, I didn't even know their credentials or anything. And it was a poltergeist case.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in New Haven, Connecticut. The furniture moved, a clock started going in reverse, a cuckoo clock, and a table had slid. All these things occurred and happened and everything. And I sat there like a Cheshire cat going, yeah, debunked this. Do you know they debunked all of that?
Really?
All 3 of them debunked everything that just happened. And I could still remember I was sitting there with my uncle cursing after the fact, and cursing and yelling and swearing up a storm. My uncle just sat there and busted out laughing. He said, typical. He said, very, very typical. He said, again, they're going to disprove anything they saw because they're not going to want to accept the fact of the possibility that some of that could happen. He said, did you learn anything from that? And I go, yeah, not bring any of these type of people with me because it just aggravates me. So he just said, no. He said, you just have to accept the fact that, a lot of times you have to, take that step back and realize that's going to happen unless you want to scream and yell and holler like I do. He said, then walk away from it. I've learned over the course of the years that if I see the conversation gearing or going down that stream, down that way, and I don't want to get involved with it, I'll walk away from it. I'll just walk away. Again, I can't prove or disprove things. I know what I've seen. I've known what I've experienced, and no one's going to take that away from me. So thus, again, that's our world. Again, when somebody's debunking something and they come up with, they call it receipts now. I love when all these guys call it receipts. Yeah. I think of a cash register thing when it's like receipts, But I understand it and everything like that. And they can prove or disprove something to back that. And again, I'll take that into consideration because again, okay, well, there's something to that. But I also tell people, be careful with that because you're going to have reporters switch things around. You're going to have the media switch things around. I've seen it. Yeah. I've been involved with it when it happens. Then you watch it on TV or something and you go, how in the world are you going to ever be able to fix something like that? It's one of the most difficult things to be able to do because I've watched it and I've seen it. And the biggest debacle with anything when it came into dealing with anything was the haunting in Connecticut. I watched so much of the media take things and flip it so that it was just like such a freaking nightmare. And I'd be like, you can't even fix that. How do you try to get someone to understand? No, that's not what just occurred or happened because it's already. But again, you just have to deal with it when it occurs and when it happens. Yeah. But if they do find something that's wrong, it's wrong. Stand up to it and go, I got to agree with you. I see, what that's about or anything.
Right.
But like I said, you can debunk everything. There's nothing you can't debunk. You can debunk everything.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Eventually, you can sway somebody to your opinion if you find enough people.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Trilogy of Terror is a book that you've written with Reverend Larry Elward and Debbie Elward. Tell us a little bit about it.
Done 4 books with them guys so far. And it actually, 99% of it is Debbie and then Larry fixing all of the stuff. And God forbid I write something up and send it. It's like the best way I could ever describe that to you, and I'm going to take it back to Rosemary Ellen Guiley. She asked me to do a couple of stories up to me. And she goes, "You do interpret the English language in your own way, don't you, John?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm known for that." That's where Ziggity came from. Brian started saying Ziggity at one point. He goes, "He doesn't speak English; he speaks Ziggity." And now, people, understand it and everything. But with that, when Debbie creates this scenario with the 3 of us, her going from a psychic, him going from clergy, me going from, looking at it from a demonologist perspective or, just a researcher's perspective. When she pulls the stories together, they're dynamite. Mm-hmm. And I'll just sit and read them. And again, it's just, phenomenal, because then a lot of times I'll go, I can't even remember any of that. And Larry and I will bust out laughing, and the both of us will turn and look and go, typical woman, they freaking remember everything. So they don't forget a detail. So again, it's just very well structured, very well with the stories. And right now, Debbie is working on it, and Larry's working on, they want me to do a coffee table book as what we know them in our generation, where it has the picture and a little story with it, with a whole bunch of the items. I thought that'd be pretty cool, and it helps to get some of the stuff documented that, is out there from stuff I work on that, again, I'm your worst nightmare as far as being a researcher documenting things. Mm-hmm. I admit it. Again, I could go work on cases and do things and just throw it in the museum and go, yeah, whatever, and worry about it. Then I'll pull something out and look at it and tell Debbie and Larry or somebody this story, and they'll go, my God, what a freaking phenomenal case. Never heard you. I forgot about it. And it's true. I just, there's the stories that are in there that I would just totally, when pulling something out, and go, oh, yeah, and go through the whole story, and, it's just totally wild.
That's a little bit of embarrassment of riches, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of a hard-earned embarrassment of riches. I got to imagine it takes a little bit out of you.
It does. And again, I take that step back, and I can always remember too that Ed and Lorraine both would do it. Somebody would walk up to him at a lecture or something and start talking about something, and Ed go, I don't even remember the case. I'm like, how in the world could you ever forget working on a case? You do.
Wow.
You do. You just file it, and it goes when people walk up to me or something and just start talking to me. Sometimes, not a lot, but there are those occasions. And I'll just stand there and go, ooh, I can't remember their name. I can't remember the location. I can't remember it. But sometimes they'll say something or trigger something. Then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, okay, now I'm remembering bits and pieces of the cases. But it happens. It happens.
I do that with shows and interviews I've done. It's the same thing. I mean, you do have wonderful shows like this one that we're doing right now, but it's, until somebody reminds you and says, no, remember this happened and this happened. You go, oh yeah, that was a great show. And then it's the same thing. But what it is it's, I think as a professional, you go out, you execute, you do things to the best of your ability, and it's not a routine. I don't want people to think that it's a standard routine and you're just going into automatic and just doing whatever you do, and you're not putting your feeling and caring into it because you put your utmost into it. It's that you know that there's the next one. Your best one is the next one, right? So you're moving on. Moving forward.
I think I always look at everything from the perspective of, you know, going out and doing something, whether it's an investigation or a talk or, doing anything is I walk in prepared because you don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how things are going to happen or how they're going to go. And when you can walk away and say, gee, I thought that went halfway decent.
Yeah.
That's how I still look at anything when I get involved with it. I mean, as well as anybody else, because you've asked me many a times too, would I ever do a TV show again? For several years, I'd go, nope, nope, nope. Would I do one now if it was something? Because there's a lot more liberties today, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it used to be, where if you didn't do what you were told, you had the wrath of everything coming down on you. Mm-hmm. It was brutal. To do something, because now they do those 6 and 8 episode ones where you don't have to do be out on the road for months and months and months and months and months. So I think if something came up where I was comfortable with it and was able to, have creative control and stuff like that in the background of it, or to be able to do that, I think I would jump on a project like that. Yes, today I would.
Well, now you've got Jay, you've got Katrina, you've got the Project Fear Kids. Everyone's going to YouTube and doing their own thing. I mean, have you ever talked to Brian and Chris about maybe getting the Spook guys together and hitting a little mini series like that and hitting YouTube?
We've talked several times. My son, I doubt it very much. The kids have moved on. They're working their full-time jobs. You got insurances, and there's no guarantees. You could do X amount of episodes and not get picked back up, but with YouTube today, that's a big different. Yeah, that's different again too. But to be honest with you, out of my 3 kids, none of them are really that much where they would want to jump back in to get involved with this. To be honest with you, my 3 granddaughters are more into this than my kids are.
Well, there you go.
It's amazing because, especially my oldest daughter, Erin. She never really got too much involved with the paranormal as far as any of this stuff like that. We were all just together for Christmas, and we're just sitting there. Me and the girls were talking about different things, and my daughter's going like this. She's looking back and forth and everything, and I just look at my daughter and I go, I knew this was going to end up happening. She goes, what, Dad? I go, your kids know more about what your father does than what you do. And she goes, unbelievable. She says, I didn't really pay too much attention to that. Let me get that for 1 second.
Sure.
Hi, I'm doing an interview. I'll call you back. That was just Honey checking on me.
Oh, yeah. No problem. No problem. So you've got, it seems like you've got the future in front of you, right? And in the Zaffis family, you've got grandkids that might want to branch out and do this, right?
Good possibility. At least 2 of the 3 I know. If you told them there's going to be a camera on and they're going to be on TV, they'd be, where are we going, Grandpa? Where are we going? Let's go. They would jump right on it. And again, the 2 younger ones, oh my God, they fit in with all the craziness today. They fit in with it.
Does that scare you to any point, or is it just it's the family business and it is what?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Anything doesn't bother me, with anything on how people think or how they perceive things or how they move forward. But I look at stuff, Tim, more so, are you happy? Do you like the life you're living? Are you liking what you're doing? Are you comfortable with the environment? Are you healthy? Mm-hmm. And you answer yes to all that. That's all that matters. I don't care. I don't care about anything else.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think with that, I've taken enough of your time, sir. But I can't tell you how much over the years, John, we've appreciated you. We love you. I think I speak for everyone out there in the paranormal that we treasure you and that you've given us so much. And again, we look forward to so much more out of you. There's so much more to do out there. I don't know how much more we can ask out of you, but the fact that you're there and that you've always had our six, we appreciate it.
Because people often say that to me. They go, "Aren't you going to retire?" I said, "Retire from what?"
Right. Yeah.
Again, no, I don't want to just sit home and vegetate. I mean, I don't want to do cases all the time. No.
Right.
But I mean, going to conventions or, doing things or getting involved with things. I love doing that. I'm going to continue. Okay. Good example. This past Monday night, very good friends of mine, the radicals, they call them. They're collectors. They collect things. They got a big museum. And I went to go see them do a little lecture up at a restaurant. About 50, 60 of us just got together. Oh, my God. I walked in and everything. I thought Lauren and Danny's faces were going to fall off. And I walked up to them. I know them and everything. And I go, "What's the matter?" They go, "We didn't know you were coming." And I went, "I'm sorry." I say, I'm not here to, debunk you or anything. They go, "That's not it. You intimidate people and you make people nervous because you're the old timer in all this." They did such a great job. They had phenomenal stories and I enjoyed it, had a good time. So anyways, Cody and Satori, they collect. I do things with them. Again, I'm going to see Cody and Satori on the 17th. Jason will be there. They're all, everybody's just showing up to do a little benefit for our sweetheart, Andrea Perron, and try and help her out a little bit. So again, I'll see some of these guys in a few days. So
you know what? I tell you what, we'll link to that as well. I know Jay posted about that. Yeah, we'll link to that event as well so that people can support Andrea Perron and her effort to heal from cancer. I know that's very important to our community as well. I also want to link up to Missouri Paracon. You're going to be at Missouri Paracon at the end of February. So we'll have people come out and see you there. You're a featured guest there at Missouri Paracon as well. So I want people to come out and see you there because that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal as well.
That sounds good to me.
Trilogy of Terror is the book, along with Reverend Larry and Debbie Elward. John has written a wonderful book there. I want you guys to go get that book as well. We have a link in the description of this program. John, again, thank you so much throughout the years supporting this program and being such a great friend to us here and all our listeners here at Darkness Radio. We appreciate it.
Well, it was great to be on. Thanks for having me. And as usual, thank you for calling me before I almost walked out the door, went to the store with my wife.
No, that's okay. And
thank you. I appreciate that, buddy.
Thank your wife for us as well. Folks, that'll do it for this week. We're at the end of the week. Again, a reminder, if you're listening to the show, not watching the show on YouTube, it is the original Darkness Radio. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to the show and you are listening to it maybe on Spotify or Apple podcast, wherever you're listening to it, iHeartRadio. We also have the Darkness Radio app on Apple. Be sure to download the Apple app and renew your Apple app or refresh your Apple app because with iOS 26, we've done some updates. Make sure you've got your update for your Apple app as well. One other note as we head for the weekend, again, lots of storms around the area. We've had crazy weather here in the Midwest. We've had a lot of snow, a lot of outdoor stuff going on. You have elderly and disabled folks out there in your community, maybe family, elderly, disabled family that needs your help clearing snow, especially around mailboxes, in driveways, stuff like that. You can't always hire somebody to come over and do that. Make sure you get out there and help the elderly and disabled in your community. Be a light in someone's darkness. It's a message from your friends here at Darkness Radio. Get out there this weekend and help someone, please. All right, that's going to do it for this week. For Jessica Freeberg, for Mally Fox, for Beer City Bruiser, for Travis Thorpe, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much. With an attitude of gratitude, we thank you for joining us here for this 20th anniversary. We'll see you next week for the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.